Are you wondering, am I a good mom? If you're a mom raising boys and sometimes question whether you're doing enough to prepare your son for the future, this episode offers encouragement and a biblical perspective for Christian moms navigating the teenage years. As moms raising boys, that question can quietly follow us, especially as our sons grow, and we wonder if we're doing enough to prepare them for the future. In this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose, I want to encourage you with the truth. If you are loving your son, pointing him toward God, and doing your best to guide him, you are doing more right than you think. We'll talk about what actually makes a good mom and why your love matters more than you realize, and how even imperfect efforts can shape your son's future. If you're a mom raising boys and need a little encouragement today, this episode is for you. And if you're looking for encouragement and conversation with other moms raising boys, I'd love to invite you to join the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook group, where we build a supportive community for moms walking through the season together. Welcome to Raising Boys with Purpose, a Christian parenting podcast for moms raising teens and young adult sons. I'm Brooke, a boy mom and parenting coach, and here we talk about raising sons, building character, and preparing our boys for adulthood with confidence and faith. Before we go any further, let's just get something out of the way. You've made mistakes. Every mom has. But your mistakes do not define you as a mother, and it's time to stop letting them. Instead of constantly replaying what we may have done wrong, what if we shift our focus? What if we started recognizing the things we're doing right and use those things to keep moving forward as we prepare our sons for the future? Because the truth is, as our sons grow and mature, our relationship with them begins to change. Often, we don't even realize it's happening until we're right in the middle of it. Our little boys are growing up, and sometimes that brings a sense of loss. We remember the days when they wanted to hold our hand or sit beside us on a couch. Now they're stepping into their own lives and discovering who they are and where they fit in the world. Sometimes it feels like we're the ones noticing the change more than they are. But even in transition, our role is still incredibly important. Our job is to encourage them in their relationship with God and help prepare them to grow into fulfilled, independent young men. And one thing I've learned through these conversations with other moms raising boys is that many of us quietly carry the same questions in our hearts. Am I doing this right? If you've ever wondered that, you're not alone. When my younger son was in elementary school, he really wanted to learn to play the piano. I was the one who took him to his lessons. His teacher was actually a friend of mine who lived nearby, so at first it was pretty easy. The drive was only about 10 minutes, and since he was excited to learn it, it felt like a great opportunity. I had tried to get our older son interested in learning an instrument, but that never really took off, so when my younger son said he wanted to learn to play, I jumped on it. He took lessons for a few years, and then middle school came along, and everything got more complicated. The drive went from 10 minutes to 30 or 40 minutes each way, and lessons were twice a week. It started to feel like a lot. Eventually, though, his teacher moved closer, which helped bring the drive down to about 20 minutes. But by that point, my son was getting older, and he started to talk about wanting to quit. The interesting thing was, though, that he was just reaching the point where he was really starting to play. Not just practicing scales or simple songs, he was actually becoming a piano player. And in my mind, this felt like a fork in the road. If we stopped right then, I honestly think he would have walked away from piano completely. But if we stayed just a little bit longer, he could develop a skill that would stay with him for life. To me, this wasn't the end of something. It was just a bump in the road. Now, he still enjoyed playing. He still enjoyed learning. He was just tired of going to lessons every week. So I told him no, he couldn't quit. I explained honestly that we had both invested too much time and effort to stop right when he was at the edge of becoming a real player. I wasn't expecting him to become a concert pianist who practiced hours a day. I simply wanted this to be a skill he could carry into adulthood. He was disappointed, and we talked through it together. Eventually, we kind of found a compromise. Instead of lessons twice a week, we dropped down to once a week, and we talked with his teacher about adjusting the goals for his learning. And even then, a little later in high school, we dropped to once every other week. The key was that he still enjoyed piano. He just needed a push to move through that slump. And that's exactly what happened. He worked through it and continued lessons for another year or so. Later, he began playing piano for the youth group at church, and eventually he started playing during Sunday morning services. And at each of those first services, his piano teacher came to support him. Her presence reminded me why we had stayed with her as his teacher, even with the long drive. Looking back now, that moment when he wanted to quit wasn't a parenting failure. It was a parenting moment. So how do we quiet that voice that tells us we're not good moms? We start by recognizing what a good mom actually is. And here's the spoiler. A good mom is not a perfect mom. Don't fall into that trap. And please don't let social media convince you that perfection is the standard. Instead, let's look at what you're already doing as a mom. A good mom. First, you're loving your children. As moms, we love our children so deeply that God actually uses that love as an example of how he loves his people. Isaiah 66:13 says, "As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you." Think about that for a moment. God chose the love of a mother as an illustration of his own comfort and care. He sees your love and he honors it. Second, you are showing your children God's love. Psalms 127:3 reminds us, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward." Your son is a gift from God. He is part of your heritage, and the love you pour into him reflects the love God has for him. Ultimately, God loved him so much that he sent Jesus to die for him. Now, thirdly, in a world that often feels chaotic, you're working to bring discipline and order into your home. 1 Corinthians 14:40 tells us, "But all things should be done decently and in order." Now, you might look around your house and wonder where that order is hiding. But discipline is not about perfection. Through routines, guidance, and teaching self-control, you're helping your son learn how to live in a way that brings stability and peace into his life. And finally, you're doing the best you can. Some days that feels strong and confident. Other days it feels messy and exhausting. But you keep showing up. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, "Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might." Your sons see that. They see you working hard. They see you trying. They see your effort to love and guide them well. And even on the days when we feel like our best isn't good enough, those are the moments when we take a breath and have honest conversations with our sons. Because the truth is, they're learning something important from us. They're learning that all anyone can do is their best. So mama, if you're hurting today and wondering if you're a good mom, just take a moment and remind yourself of the ways you're actively loving your children. Write those things down. Make a list. Put it somewhere you can see it so that the next time doubts try to creep in, you have something to remind you of the truth. Every act of love matters. And even when you make mistakes, and we all do, choosing to acknowledge them and grow from them is another way you show your love to your son. You were never meant to be perfect, and your son doesn't need you to be perfect. What he needs is a mom who keeps showing up, keeps loving him, and keeps doing her best, just like you. And when he makes mistakes, because he will learn from you that the most important thing is to get back up, try again, and keep moving forward. If this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose encouraged you, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of this podcast. And if you're raising a teen or young adult son and want encouragement and practical guidance, come join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook community. The link is below. Thanks for being here today. Now grab your iced coffee, hug your son, and remember, you're raising him with purpose.